Hello friends and welcome back to Vintage Sports Shack. And welcome back to another episode of Wing It Wednesday. Today, got a special episode for you. Got over to my uncle's this morning, did a little chat. Talked about collecting in the 50s, so hopefully you'll enjoy it. I wanted to preference that, of course, with my big mouth, it's loud. With his, he's quiet. It's not as loud, so the volume's going to be up and down. So I wanted to apologize for that, but I hope you enjoy it. So as always, get to it. Hello friends and welcome back to Vintage Sports Shack. And welcome back to another episode of Tableside Chat. Today we're with my Uncle Jim. We're going to talk about collecting in the 1950s. So as always, stand up, stretch out, because away we go. Alright guys, we're going to talk about collecting in the 50s today, but first I wanted to let you know the winner of the contest. The Edward cards goes to First State Cards Company, the Jordan card goes to Blue Angels Fan 64, and the Laporta card goes to SGC Collector. So contact me through Instagram, or I got my email address in the description below. But to the main event, let's get to the questions for my uncle. Hey Jim, how are you today?
Just fine, Paul. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Some of the questions we had collecting in the 50s came from Bob Boozle and some other people, but I wanted to thank Bob for all the questions. Most of the time he's commenting smart aleck remarks, so I appreciate it, Bob. But first questions, packs. How many packs did we buy back when you were a kid in the 50s?
We bought few, maybe one or two a week. They were lower price, certainly lower price than they are now. It would be pennies, maybe 3 pennies to buy 5 cards perhaps,
So
with some gum.
They were like 3 cents. Yeah, it was 3 cents a pack and tops. Well, back in the 50s, you had tops, and what else did you have? Cards. You had Bowman, tops.
Bowman's and tops are the ones I recall. That would have been about it. But tops was
They had
very big then. That was the first year they went to the standard sized card. Before, the cards were bigger than the 57s. When you got to 57, it became standardized, and it's what it is today.
And they were candy companies back then, right?
I'm not sure. It was Topps chewing gum, as far as I know.
Yeah. And did Bowman, they had gum in those packs?
That I can't recall because I never bought one. I traded maybe for them, but I never
bought it. You only
no.
bought tops back in the 50s?
That was it, yes.
Another one of the questions is, where'd you get the money to buy packs?
Well, when you're a kid, and I was 10 years old, it's just a few pennies here, a few pennies there, but candy bars were a nickel.
Yeah, and you did, what kind of chores did you do?
Oh, just sometimes just raking leaves and getting a few pennies here and there. And the biggest way we found it was cigarette machines in the days used to charge like 22 cents a pack, and so you'd go by the gas stations and they'd have racks outside, and people would buy the packs of cigarettes, and they'd have like 3 pennies glued to them, and they'd just throw the pennies away because they didn't want them.
And you would take that and
We
buy
would take
cards?
those.
Yeah. I never heard that before. That's a neat story. Once you had the cards, I know one of the big things that we always hear in the 50s was kids put cards in the spokes. What are some of the things you did with your cards in the 50s? Some of the games, or what did you do with cards?
Well, all we did was trade them amongst ourselves, the group of fellows we grew up around, the neighborhood, and living in Toledo, and some of my buddies would like Detroit, some of my buddies would like Cleveland, some of us used to like New York, and so we would just collect cards, and then maybe if you had something your buddy had and he wanted what you had, you would trade him. It was just that was sort of a game or kind of fun. That's what you did.
And we discussed it. Can you tell everybody how you place value. I know nowadays we do Beckett, eBay sales, everybody talks about comps. How did you value them back in the 50s?
Well, certainly back in the 50s, sports was on a much smaller scale. So you didn't have so many players to choose from. There were 8 National League teams, 8 American League teams, and that was it. So and that as widespread as it is today.
But when you wanted to trade you were a Yankees fan, right?
I was at that time, yes.
When you wanted to trade your Al Kaline for Mickey Mantle, how'd you base?
Well, it was always my favorite against your favorite, and if you didn't care, I didn't care either. We would just trade
Even up.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. And what we know you collected Mickey Mantle. What made Mickey Mantle different from everybody else?
Well, he got the most headlines on the biggest team. New York City had 3 major league teams in it: Brooklyn, the Giants, and the Yankees. And that's where all the media pretty much came from.
And
so
even
you'd see a lot of Yankee games in Toledo only because that was what the network was showing.
And even though you were closer to Detroit, you didn't get Detroit unless they were playing the Yankees.
Right.
On
Pretty
TV.
much it, yeah.
So
back then it was television was primitive.
The Yankees and whoever they were playing for baseball.
Pretty much, yeah.
And
quite often anyway, as I remember, quite often.
And a couple of the ballparks that you went to when you were younger were Cleveland and the original Tiger Stadium.
It was Briggs Stadium at the time.
In Detroit?
In Detroit.
And Cleveland was?
Don't know for sure.
You can't remember where you was?
But that was Cleveland Stadium. I mean, that's the mistake on the lake. It still is.
It's still there. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to do this once a month. Next month, we're going to talk about collecting in the 60s and 70s. So if you have any questions, you're getting a little bit closer to my time. Maybe I can answer some questions from the 70s. But as always, smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Peace. Have a super great day. And why'd we come here? Keep dancing.